One of the most difficult things we have to do sometimes is say goodbye. And it's time for me to say goodbye to this wonderful medium format camera, the Mamiya C-220. I'm James Fisher, and this is Vintage Insight Photography. And as many of you know, Michelle and I have sold our home and we're preparing to live on the road in our Airstream travel trailer. What that means in reality is we've got to sell and get rid of all of our stuff. And because of that, that means we have to pare all of our belongings down to what will fit in the 200 square feet of our Airstream travel trailer. Deciding which of my film cameras I'm going to keep and take with me on this journey is kind of like trying to pick your favorite child. Well, I did have someone speak up and say that they were interested in this Mamiya C-220. So this video is kind of the swan song before I pack this beauty up and send it off to another photographer. I've shown in other videos some unique characteristics of this Mamiya C-220 and a complete walkthrough on how to operate these wonderful cameras. I mean, when they say they don't build them like they used to, this camera is probably from the 1970s and practically functions as good as when it was brand new. So for one last time, let's load some film into this Mamiya C-220 and take her out on a photographic excursion. I've made my way down to the mouth of the Black River in Port Huron, Michigan. This is where I've chosen to do some of the last photographs with this Mamiya C-220 camera. Let's go.
Honey, baby, meet me just one last time.
This light caught my eye. It actually, I think, would be a nice juxtaposition between some of the mass of the sailboats and the sky with the clouds. It's a beautiful sunshiny day today in eastern Michigan. So how do we find our correct exposure with this camera for this type of setting? Well, I'm going to use the Sunny 16 rule, which states that the ISO or ASA of the film, use that as your shutter speed. The ISO of +X-Pan is 125. So I'm going to start with 125th of a second, and then in bright sunlight, f/16 is your preferred aperture, and you can work everything from there. So let's open this up, and we're going to set this. So at 125th of a second at f/16. And there I have this set right there. Now I'm going to want to overexpose this film just a hint because it is expired, is a little older, and negative film can generally take a little more light. If you overexpose the film, then you keep some shadow detail. It's kind of the inverse of digital photography or using transparencies. Negative film can usually handle a little more light than its stated ISO, because most of the film manufacturers would rate that film at the threshold speed, or what's the absolute fastest we can shoot this film before it starts to break down and we lose shadow detail. So by rating the film somewhere between 80 and 100, I think I'll get actually a little better exposure with this. So part of what I think is going to make this look good is the medium format camera provides a shallower depth of field. Now what I mean by that is that the normal lens or normal view lens of a 2¼ camera is about an 80mm lens, and that's what we have on this. So if you have an APS-C sensor digital camera and you put an 80mm lens on it, that's a pretty moderate telephoto lens, and you're going to get some compression and you're going to get some background fall off, or as we call it, bokeh in the background. We're going to see that naturally in this camera and a normal lens. That's actually what makes some of the medium format and large format photographs look so much different than our modern photographs, is that shallow depth of field. And in fact, something that you can see this in a very current thing is the movie Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan's use of the 70mm cameras, which is pretty close in size to a medium format still camera, provides for that shallow depth of field. And there's some incredible photographs in this movie that show that compressed depth of field, where you have the eyes in focus and the tip of the nose and the ears are out of focus. it's a look that you cannot replicate easily with a modern digital camera. So let's open this up a little bit. If I want to open up to f11, I'll go to a 250th of a second, and f8 to a 500th, and that's kind of about where we're going to be. If I want to go to f5.6, I'm going to be overexposing by 1 f-stop. Let's focus this in, right there. We're going to cock the shutter. And there's our first exposure of the day.
Honey, baby, meet me just one last time. Honey, baby, talk to me one last time.
So I think it's time to head back, throw this film in some developer, and see if we get anything worthy of showing for this vlog.